before you take a moment to ask yourself, what are you still holding on to? A thought, a memory, a worry, a desire. Every sleepless night begins not with noise around you, but with the weight within you. Tonight, to release, to breathe, and to finally find peace in letting go. Letting go of attachment is one of the deepest and most transformative teachings found within Buddhist philosophy. To understand intellectually, but rather a lifelong practice of freeing the mind from the chains of clinging, craving, and identification with things that constantly change. To let go of attachment does not mean abandoning love, compassion, and living more freely without being imprisoned by desire or fear. It is the art of holding the world with open hands instead of closed fists, understanding that everything that comes into our life, whether joy, sorrow, success, or failure, in the stillness of meditation or the quiet moments before sleep, the nature of attachment often becomes clear. The mind wanders toward what it wants, what it fears, and what it resists. A thought arises, perhaps of a person, a memory. The heart tightens, the body reacts, and the peace within begins to tremble. This is the work of attachment. It binds us to the endless cycle of longing and disappointment, creating suffering even when life around us is calm. If our outcomes, the more anxious and restless we become. The more we depend on external conditions for happiness, the more fragile that happiness becomes. Buddhist wisdom invites us to look deeply at this mechanism. Everything in existence, it teaches, seasons change, emotions rise and fall, relationships grow and fade, and even our most cherished memories eventually dissolve into silence. Yet the mind, unaware of this impermanence, to grasp the pleasant and push away the unpleasant. This grasping is the root of suffering. We suffer not because life is painful, but because we resist its natural flow. Like someone trying to hold water in their hands, we struggle against the inevitable. To let go is to recognize the futility of clinging and to begin trusting the nature of life itself. When you loosen your grip, something extraordinary happens. The fear of loss begins to fade. I cannot be lost because it was never bound to anything temporary. The true self, pure awareness, is not touched by gain or loss. It observes all changes but remains unchanged. When you experience this, even for a moment, success can offer. Letting go is not an act of force. It cannot be achieved by saying, I will not care anymore, or I will detach myself completely. True letting go arises naturally from understanding. Only brings pain. The hand releases by itself. Imagine someone clinging to a burning coal. The tighter they hold, the more they suffer. The moment they realize the source of pain, they drop it. Similarly, burns the heart with anxiety, jealousy, and fear. We begin to release it with compassion rather than struggle. Attachment often disguises itself as love. We say, I love this person, but what we often mean is, real love, free from attachment, does not seek to possess or control. It gives space, it allows freedom, it flows without demand. When you love without attachment, you do not cling to outcomes, you appreciate each moment as it is. They must leave, you release them with peace. Such love is not cold or indifferent, it is the warmest, most genuine love because it comes without conditions. The same principle applies to our ambitions, possessions, and even our beliefs. To being right, to being successful, to being recognized, and we suffer whenever those identities are threatened. We attach to our opinions, defending them as if they define who we are. We attach to material things, but everything we cling to eventually changes, fades, or disappears. The car we love gets old. The house we cherish may one day belong to someone else. The success we strive for can vanish overnight. When we understand this truth deeply, loss, but from wisdom and gratitude, letting go brings incredible peace to the mind, especially before sleep. Many people struggle to rest because their minds are full of attachments, worries about the future, regrets about the past. The mind clings to these thoughts like vines around a tree, preventing it from relaxing. But if you practice letting go even briefly, you will notice a softness entering your being. You begin to breathe more easily, your thoughts slow down. You may silently remind yourself, I release what I cannot control. I let go of what is not mine to hold. Each repetition becomes a key, turning the lock of your restless mind, opening the door to stillness. In truth, it means gaining freedom. It is not an act of rejection, but an act of understanding. You still care, you still love, you still dream, but you no longer suffer from the need to control the unfolding of life. You become with the wing instead of breaking against it. You learn to trust that life has its own rhythm, that each event, whether joyful or painful, is part of a greater harmony that your limited view may not yet see. In the path of letting go, so clinging to a thought, a feeling, or a desire, pause and breathe. Do not judge yourself, simply observe. Feel how attachment contracts the heart, how it creates tension in your body. Then, as you exhale, release. But each time you practice, the hold weakens. Over time, your mind becomes lighter, like a sky free of clouds. The power of this practice becomes evident in daily life. You react less to small irritations. You forgive more easily. You begin to live then in the shadow of what was or the worry of what might be. Letting go opens the heart to compassion, not only for others, but for yourself. You understand that being human means experiencing attachment, yet you walk the path of freedom anyway. In silence, when the world grows still and the noise fades away, the truth of letting go reveals itself as something deeply peaceful. It is not emptiness, but fullness, a fullness of being that needs nothing to complete it. Your rest becomes more than physical, it becomes spiritual. The mind drifts into the vastness of awareness, unburdened, at ease, and free. Letting go of attachment then is not the end of love or life. A peace that does not depend on conditions, a peace that remains untouched even as the world continues to change. It is the quiet strength of knowing that everything you are looking for is already within you, your hands, and let everything else fall away. Mindfulness before sleep is one of the most profound practices for calming the restless mind and restoring balance between body, heart, and spirit. In the quiet hours of the night, the mind often refuses to rest. It wanders through thoughts of the past, worries of tomorrow, or desires that remain unfulfilled. Yet, this time before sleep holds immense power. It is a sacred doorway between wakefulness and rest. Noise of the day and prepare the soul for deep rejuvenation. To understand mindfulness before sleep, one must first understand the nature of the mind itself. The mind is like a river, constantly moving, collecting experiences, During the day, we are carried by its current, rarely noticing where it takes us. But when night falls and external distractions fade, the current of thoughts becomes louder. During the day now prevents us from resting. It replays conversations, analyzes mistakes, anticipates problems, and clings to images of what might come. Without mindfulness, we become trapped in this endless current, unable to find stillness, auto returning to the present moment. It is awareness without judgment, a calm observation of what is happening right now. The breath, the sensations, the beating of the heart. When you bring mindfulness into the moments before sleep, to mind to connect, you no longer fight with your thoughts or resist your emotions. Instead, you observe them, allow them, and let them fade naturally. This simple act of awareness begins to quiet the mental chatter. It's as if the river becomes clear enough for you to see the reflection of peace within. In Buddhist practice, the period before sleep is not seen as wasted time, but as an opportunity for purification and reflection. When you lie in bed, to let go of the energy and emotions you've carried through the day, you might start by noticing your breath, not forcing it, but simply observing how it flows in and out. Each inhale can be a reminder that you are alive. With every breath, the weight of the day begins to lift. The mind, usually filled with movement, finds comfort in the rhythm of breathing. When mindfulness deepens, more clearly, the heaviness of your limbs, the touch of the blanket, the warmth of your heartbeat, you realize that your body is constantly communicating, asking for rest, asking to be acknowledged. By giving attention to these sensations, often we push our bodies throughout the day, moving from one task to another without pause. Mindfulness before sleep is a way of saying thank you to the body, allowing it to finally relax. At the same time, during the day, we accumulate not only physical tension, but also emotional burdens, moments of irritation, disappointment, or sadness that we push aside to keep functioning. These emotions do not disappear, they remain within us. When we practice mindfulness before sleep, we bring gentle awareness to these feelings. We do not analyze or suppress them, we simply acknowledge their presence. This simple act of acceptance allows them to dissolve on their own. The sunlight thoughts too begin to lose their power under mindful observation. Normally, when a thought arises, we follow it, creating a chain of worries or fantasies. But when mindfulness is present, temporary ripple on the surface of awareness, you see it come, you watch it go. The mind no longer clings to it. This practice trains the brain to settle naturally, even without conscious effort. The space between thoughts grows wider. Practicing mindfulness before sleep is not only beneficial for rest, but also for spiritual growth. As awareness expands, you begin to sense the vast stillness behind the movements of the mind. The thoughts are not who you are. They are passing clouds while you're the open sky. This recognition brings a profound sense of freedom and tranquility. Sleep then becomes more than a physical act. Open, peaceful, and whole. Mindfulness also strengthens the connection between mind and body, which enhances the quality of sleep. Studies and ancient wisdom alike suggest that when you fall asleep in a state of calm awareness, the heart rate slows, the nervous system relaxes, and the body begins to repair itself. Dreams become more balanced and meaningful, reflecting inner harmony rather than anxiety. Clear, light, and focused. Another dimension of mindfulness before sleep is gratitude. As you lie quietly, you can reflect on the blessings of the day, small moments of kindness, beauty, or learning, from lack to abundance, from tension to peace. When the heart fills with thankfulness, it cannot hold fear or resentment at the same time. The energy of gratitude relaxes the entire being, making it easier to drift into rest. A strong, mindful raising thoughts, mindfulness offers a compassionate alternative to resistance. Instead of fighting sleeplessness, you learn to rest within wakefulness. You may not fall asleep immediately, but you remain calm, aware, and gentle with yourself. Feeling safe, begin to surrender naturally. Sleep comes not because you chase it, but because you stop trying. Mindfulness before sleep can also deepen self-understanding. The quiet of the night often reveals truths that remain hidden during the day. When the noise of the external world subsides, you begin to hear the whispers of your own inner wisdom. You notice patterns, how your mind reacts to stress, what you crave, what you fear. Helps you respond to life with more compassion and understanding. In this way, mindfulness turns sleep into a continuation of spiritual practice rather than a break from it. When mindfulness becomes part of your nightly routine, to bedtime not as an escape from exhaustion, but as a time of return, the moments before sleep transform from anxiety and tension into sacred preparation for rest. The bed becomes a temple, the breath becomes a prayer, and the silence becomes your teacher. Awareness gently lingers, soften, luminous, peaceful. Practicing mindfulness before sleep is a reminder that peace is not found through effort, but through surrender. You do not have to force silence or chase rest. To breathe, to feel, let go. The mind, soothed by awareness, begins to unwind naturally. The body, feeling safe, releases its grip on wakefulness. Sleep arrives like a soft wave that has always been within you. Through mindfulness before sleep, you begin to understand that rest is not only physical but also spiritual. It is the rest of returning to yourself, of laying down the burdens of identity and expectation. Need to be anyone or do anything. You simply exist, aware, at peace, and whole within the rhythm of your breath. Impermanence and acceptance are at the heart of Buddhist wisdom. Understandings a person can awaken to in their lifetime. Everything that exists, every feeling, thought, relationship, and even the body itself is constantly changing. Nothing remains fixed and nothing is truly permanent, even painful, because the human mind naturally seeks stability, control, and lasting comfort. Yet, when we begin to accept impermanence as the natural rhythm of life rather than something to resist, external condition can disturb. Acceptance does not mean resignation. It means opening our heart to what is without clinging to what was or demanding what should be. In daily life, we constantly experience the movement of impermanence. The morning becomes afternoon, the sun sets, and the night fades into dawn. Our thoughts shift from joy to worry, our emotions change from love to fear, our bodies age with time, and the people we hold close come and go. born and dying within moments. This constant flow is not something separate from us. It is life itself. But the mind, in its ignorance, tries to hold on to moments that cannot be held. It seeks permanence in a world that is made of change, to avoid pain forever, to preserve beauty, and to deny loss. In doing so, it creates suffering because the natural law of impermanence allows no exceptions. To see impermanence clearly is to awaken from illusion. If we chase and cling to are not stable foundations for happiness, wealth, fame, beauty, relationships, all are subject to time and change. When we depend on them to define our peace becomes fragile the moment they shift or disappear. But when we understand deeply, our relationship with life begins to transform. Instead of grasping, we start to appreciate. Instead of fearing change, we begin to flow with it and begin to marvel at its constant unfolding. Acceptance is the natural companion of impermanence. When we resist change, we create inner conflict. The mind argues with reality, insisting that things should be different. This argument never ends. On the other hand, is the soft surrender that allows us to live in harmony with the truth. It does not mean liking every experience. Rather, it means acknowledging that each experience has its place and purpose in the larger pattern of existence. In the present moment, even pain, even loss, we stop adding unnecessary suffering to what already is. Pain may still be there, but resistance amplifies it while acceptance begins to ease it. In the context of relationships, deeply but with freedom. When we understand that every person we meet will one day change or leave, our love becomes less possessive and more compassionate, to belong to us and begin to cherish them as fellow travelers on the same ever-changing path. Each moment with someone becomes precious precisely because it cannot last forever. The awareness of impermanence gives love its depth and tenderness. We hold even gently without demand, without ownership. Impermanence also reveals the futility of holding grudges or clinging to anger. The emotions that seem so solid are in truth always shifting. Anger, sadness, jealousy, they arise. When we become mindful of this, we no longer let them control us. We realize that they are visitors, not permanent residents in our hearts. Instead of fighting or suppressing them, we can allow them to pass through us like clouds across the sky. The freedom to experience emotions without being enslaved by them. In the face of loss, impermanence can appear cruel. When someone we love dies or when we lose something meaningful, it feels as though a part of us has been torn away. The hard act is, over time, through gentle reflection, we begin to see that impermanence is not a punishment. It is the very condition that makes life precious. Without change, there would be no growth, no renewal, no birth, blooms and fades. The sunrise is magnificent precisely because it lasts only for a moment. Similarly, every relationship experience and joy we have gains its beauty from the fact that it will not last forever. When we embrace impermanence, losing what we love, we understand that loss is not the opposite of life, but part of its continuous rhythm. We start to find fun comfort in knowing that nothing is ever truly gone. It simply changes form. A leaf falls from the tree. A loved one passes away, but their love and influence remain in the hearts of those they touched. Everything transforms, but nothing truly disappears. Seeing this, acceptance grows naturally, not as an intellectual belief, but only of existence. Impermanence also invites us to live fully in the present moment. When we know that this moment will never come again, we begin to experience it more vividly. The taste of tea, the sound of rain, awareness sharpens, and gratitude blossoms. We stop rushing through life, chasing distant goals, and instead begin to savor what is right here. Acceptance of impermanence transforms ordinary moments into moments of awakening. Impermanence can bring great peace. The mind often holds on to unfinished stories, regrets, mistakes, or unfulfilled desires. It resists the passage of time, wishing to rewrite the past or control the future. And everything changes, including our emotions and circumstances. We can rest more easily. The worries of today will fade. The pain of this moment will soften. The world keeps moving, and so do we. Is it lie down in truth? The body relaxes because it no longer fights against the flow of life. Practicing acceptance of impermanence does not make us passive. It makes us wise. We still act, love, and strive. We give our best effort, knowing that outcomes are not ours to control. We speak kindly, knowing that words can be the last ones we share. We forgive, knowing that time will not wait. Acceptance does not remove our humanity. It deepens it. Teaches a joy or sorrow. With an open heart and a steady mind, through this understanding, a subtle shift occurs. The fear of change begins to dissolve, and a quiet confidence takes its place. We start to trust the rhythm of life. We realize that every ending is also a beginning, every loss a doorway to renewal. Impermanence becomes not a threat but a teacher, guiding us toward inner freedom. That helps us walk through change with grace. When impermanence is seen clearly and acceptance blooms naturally, the heart finds rest. It no longer struggles to hold the unholdable or to fight what is inevitable. It beats freely, changing rhythm of existence, open to whatever life brings, without fear, without resistance, without demand, simply aware and at peace within the flow of all things. Inner two streams that flow from the same source of awareness, merging to create a state of deep peace within the human heart. In Buddhism, or sound but the quieting of inner turbulence, the calm that arises when the mind no longer struggles against itself. Compassion, on the other hand, is the natural fragrance of that stillness. It's when the heart is free from fear and attachment. Together, they form the foundation of inner harmony, allowing one to live with clarity, empathy, and acceptance in a constantly changing world. That peace cannot be found by rearranging external conditions. People spend much of their lives chasing quietness through control, trying to fix situations, avoid discomfort, or demand that others behave in certain ways. The inner world remains restless, filled with worries and unfulfilled desires. True stillness arises not from changing life, but from changing one's relationship with it. It is a shift from resistance to acceptance, flow of existence. Even for a moment, a silence begins to open within, not a dull emptiness, but a vibrant stillness that feels alive. The mind is like a pond. When disturbed by constant thought and emotion, it becomes murky. When the pond is still, it reflects everything clearly, the sky, the trees, the light. Similarly, when the mind becomes still, it reflects reality as it is. Thoughts continue to arise, but they no longer control you. Emotions still visit. You become the observer, awake, aware, and undisturbed. This inner stillness is not about suppressing thought or emotion. It is about seeing through them. Clouds that have like drifting across the sky of awareness, temporary, insubstantial, passing. When you stop identifying with them, the sky of your mind opens wider, vast, and unshaken. Stillness, however, is not something you can force. It unfolds daily through awareness and self-awareness. You sit quietly and bring your attention to your breath. Each inhale and exhale begins to anchor you in the present moment. The mind, which habitually runs toward the past or future. You might notice sensations in your body, sounds in the distance, or the rhythm of your heartbeat. At first, distractions will come, thoughts will pull you away, but each time you return to awareness, stillness deepens over time, and the restlessness begins to fade. This stillness does not remove you from the world. It allows you to meet the world with greater wisdom and peace. From this stillness, compassion naturally arises. Fear quiets down, the heart becomes sensitive to the reality of others. You begin to see that all beings share the same longing for happiness and the same struggle with suffering. Compassion is not pity, nor is it sentimentality. It flows from understanding rather than emotion. When your heart is still, you no longer act out of anger, jealousy, or judgment. You respond from a place of understanding and kindness, as enemies, but as being trapped in their own confusion and pain. Compassion sees this truth and responds with gentleness instead of resentment. Stillness and compassion nourish one another. Without stillness, burdened by emotion, turning into sorrow or exhaustion. Without compassion, stillness can become cold and detached. When both are present, balance is achieved. A soft strength, an open heart guided by calm wisdom. To carefully without being overwhelmed, to help others without losing your peace, and to remain centered even amidst chaos. Inner stillness also reveals the interconnection between all things. In the quiet of awareness, you realize that your existence intertwined with the breath of the trees, the warmth of the sun, and the lives of every being around you. This understanding deepens compassion even further. Distant, their pain feels like your own, their joy like your own. From this understanding, actions of kindness arise effortlessly, not as moral obligations, but as natural expressions of unity. How you relate to everyday life. When challenges arise, instead of reacting impulsively, you pause, breathe, and observe. That pause, even if only a few seconds, is where awareness lives. In that space, wisdom speaks softly. You begin to notice how often suffering is created not by the situation itself, but by your resistance to it. The more still you become, the more you see clearly, and the clearer you see and others. Stillness also allows healing. The mind and body are deeply connected, and when the mind is constantly agitated, the body carries the burden. Restlessness can manifest as tension, fatigue, or illness. Through stillness, begins to repair itself. The energy that was once spent on anxiety, or overthinking becomes available for renewal. Compassion supports this healing, for when you treat yourself with kindness, the inner critic begins to lose power. You allow yourself to be human. This self-compassion opens the door to greater love for others, because you can only give what you have cultivated within. In moments of solitude or before sleep, inner stillness becomes especially powerful. You can feel the pulse of awareness beneath all movement, a peaceful presence that has always been there, waiting to be noticed. The body relaxes, the mind slows, and in that gentle awareness, compassion rises like a soft light. You may reflect on the people and moments of your day, sending them thoughts of kindness and forgiveness. This simple act releases emotional burdens, allowing the heart to rest in openness. As a continuation of peace, cultivating inner stillness and compassion requires patience, but it is not something you must create from nothing. It is already within you, beneath the layers of thought and emotion. Every act of mindfulness brings you closer to it. The more you listen to silence, the more familiar it becomes, and more naturally compassion begins to flow from it. Even in the midst of the busiest day, you can return to this inner stillness by pausing for a breath. Remembering that peace is not something you must seek. It is what you are when you stop running from the present moment. When stillness flowers into compassion, life takes on a new depth. You begin to live with gentle awareness, wisdom, and impermanence. You speak more softly, act more consciously, and relate more authentically. The chaos of the world no longer shakes you as it once did, because your peace does not depend on external calm. It lives within you. Natural presence, stillness becomes your home, a home that cannot be destroyed by circumstance, where the mind rests, the heart opens, and the spirit breathes freely in the endless rhythm of life. In the end, mindfulness, impermanence, and compassion leads to one sacred realization. Peace is not something to be found outside of us, but awakened within. When we release our attachments and surrender to the present moment, from that stillness, compassion blooms, softening the edges of our hearts and connecting us with all living beings. Each breath becomes a reminder that life is fleeting yet precious, and every moment holds the potential for awakening. As we rest in awareness, we no longer start with it. Sleep comes not as an escape, but as a continuation of peace, and when the morning light returns, we awaken renewed, calm, and in harmony with the rhythm of existence.